Welcome to Podcast Summaries, where every week we break down powerful ideas from 8 to 10 top podcasts to help you grow, heal, and thrive while saving time. If you find this summary helpful, please subscribe and check out links for more content. Your support keeps this journey going. Here is a summarized version of this wealth formula will set you free financially. Use this mindset shift, featuring Rory Vaden by Lewis Howes. Lewis Howes wants to know the next step to creating financial freedom in life. He's looking for a clear plan to help his audience achieve their financial goals. Rory Vaden believes that the key to financial freedom lies in identifying one's primary business model, or PBM. He explains that most people have multiple revenue streams, but this can actually hold them back from achieving true financial success. He uses the example of Lewis Howes himself, who had 17 different revenue streams but was able to simplify and focus on his podcast, leading to greater success. Vaden introduces the concept of Sheehan's wall, which illustrates the idea that when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. He explains that if you have 10 units of resource and spread them across 10 initiatives, each initiative will only receive 1 unit of resource. However, if you focus all 10 units of resource on one initiative, the likelihood of success increases exponentially. Vaden also shares the story of how Lewis Howes was able to break through the wall by focusing on his podcast. He had a mastermind that was generating millions of dollars in revenue, but he decided to walk away from it to focus on his podcast. This decision allowed him to create a more sustainable and successful business model. The key takeaway is that financial freedom requires focus and clarity on one's primary business model. Vaden emphasizes that it's not about having multiple streams of income, but rather about identifying the one thing that matters most and becoming the best at it. He encourages his audience to take a closer look at their own business models and identify areas where they can simplify and focus their efforts. Rory Vaden is now introducing a new framework called the Golden Grid, which is designed to help people create a transition plan for their financial future. The Golden Grid involves looking at one's business model through 2 lenses, short-term and long-term. It's a simple exercise that helps people get clear on their primary business model, secondary business model, and ancillary revenue streams. The goal is to identify the one revenue stream that matters above all others and create a plan to focus on it. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden about the importance of prioritizing what you have to do versus what you want to do in order to achieve long-term success. Rory Vaden explains that you have to do what you have to do in order to earn the right to do what you want to do. He emphasizes that the lower your appetite for material goods and the less obligation you have in your life, the shorter the runway can be, and the more you can take risks and pursue your passions. Rory Vaden shares that he and Lewis Howes have worked together in the past, and Lewis's primary business model was selling information through courses, coaching, and consulting. However, Lewis's business model has evolved over time, and he now focuses on ads and affiliates as his primary revenue stream. Rory Vaden notes that Lewis's business model is a great example of how to transition from one revenue stream to another. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden to explain the concept of the 70-30 rule, which is a guideline for making a transition from one business model to another. Rory Vaden explains that the rule states that you should focus on building a new business model until it generates 30% of your income, and then you can make the leap and transition to the new model full-time. Rory Vaden shares that there are only 5 ways that personal brands can make money, which he calls the paids. These include products, ads and affiliates, information, deals, and services. He explains that each of these categories has its advantages and disadvantages, and that the key is to choose one and focus on it. Rory Vaden notes that the fastest path to cash is often through services, but it's also the hardest to scale. He explains that any service can be scalable through one mechanism: raising the price. He gives the example of how he used to do keynotes for $5,000, but now he does them for $65,000. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden to explain how to determine which of the 5 paids is the right one for a particular business. Rory Vaden shares that he uses an acronym called DARES, which stands for Digital, Automated, Recurring, Evergreen, and Scalable. He explains that the key is to look for business models that have these characteristics, as they are more likely to be successful in the long term. Rory Vaden notes that Netflix is a great example of a business model that is digital, automated, recurring, and scalable. However, it's not evergreen, as it requires constant new content to keep customers engaged. He explains that the key is to find a business model that aligns with your personal brand and values, and that also has the potential to generate significant revenue. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden to explain how to assess the stress score of a particular business model. Rory Vaden explains that the stress score is a measure of how much stress a particular business model causes, and that it's an important factor to consider when choosing a business model. He notes that some business models, such as services, can be high stress, while others, such as digital products, can be lower stress. Rory Vaden shares that he and Lewis Howes have worked with many real estate investors and agents, and that they often fall into the category of services. He explains that real estate investors are essentially selling their time and expertise to find and manage investment opportunities, and that this can be a lucrative business model. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden to explain how to determine which category a particular business model falls into. Rory Vaden explains that the key is to look at the characteristics of the business model and determine which of the 5 P's it aligns with. He notes that some business models, such as real estate investing, can be complex and may involve multiple revenue streams. Lewis Howes asks about the concept of evergreen content and how it applies to his business model. He explains that evergreen content is not time-bound, meaning it remains relevant even after a long period of time. He shares an example of how his podcast episodes continue to generate revenue years after they were first published. Rory Vaden chimes in, agreeing that evergreen content is essential for building a sustainable business. Lewis Howes then asks about finding a good accountability partner or mentor. He suggests starting by consuming free content from experts in the field and then reaching out to them for guidance. Rory Vaden adds that even if someone can't afford to pay for mentorship, they can still show appreciation by sharing the expert's content, leaving reviews, or commenting on their posts. The conversation then shifts to the topic of scaling a business. Rory Vaden shares a framework called Fractal Math, which suggests that 10% of customers will invest 10 times more in a product or service. He explains that by increasing the price point or offering more value to customers, businesses can double their revenue without adding new customers. Lewis Howes notes that this approach can be applied to various industries, including healthcare and real estate. He notes that rich people often prioritize their time over their money, and that investing in mentorship or coaching can be a valuable way to accelerate success. Lewis Howes adds that having a supportive community and mentors can help entrepreneurs stay encouraged and focused on their passion-driven work. Finally, Rory Vaden shares a valuable insight about dealing with discouragement from others. He notes that people who are successful rarely have time to hate on others, and that discouragement often comes from those who are not on the same journey. He advises listeners to focus on their own path and not take advice from people who haven't achieved what they're trying to accomplish. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden about the number of New York Times bestsellers he has coached or helped through his process. Rory Vaden shares that he has helped 60 clients become New York Times, USA Today, or national bestsellers, with 12 of them achieving this feat in the last 15 months. He explains that his team uses a personal brand to get their expertise out there, add value to the world, build trust at scale, and drive leads to their business. Lewis Howes emphasizes that whatever point someone is at, whether they're looking for more emotional peace or financial abundance, they can get the frameworks from Rory and his team to achieve clarity on their business and execute it. He invites listeners to sign up for a free strategy call with one of his top strategists to get shifted. Lewis Howes asks Rory Vaden to share his biggest takeaway from their conversation. Rory Vaden reflects on the metaphor of thinking of money as a person and how learning about it, caring for it, and serving it can lead to a great relationship. He shares a story from the Bible, the parable of the talents, where a master leaves his household and gives his servants different amounts of talents. The servants who multiply their talents are praised, while the one who buries his talent is rebuked. Rory Vaden interprets this story as a reminder that we are creators and multipliers, and that we don't need to hoard money. Instead, we should serve, create, expand, and multiply to make money easy. Lewis Howes thanks Rory Vaden for his service and teaching, and invites listeners to share their biggest takeaway from the conversation. He also promotes his new book, make money easy right now, and encourages listeners to subscribe to his channel and get a copy of the book. Rory Vaden adds that the first rule of entrepreneurship is to use what you have, and that every self-made billionaire and millionaire shifted with nothing, but also had nothing to lose. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, check out YouTube channel, and just remember, subscription is only £1 or $1 per month. Leave a comment or review. Until next time, happy listening.